Hey everybody, thanks for checking out another one of my videos. Got my favorite hat on, got my favorite Evo shirt on, ready to talk about some Infinity. So for this week's game, I'm going up against Invincible Army again, which is a sector I've been playing against a lot. Couple, 3, 4 guys in my meta have been checking them out, seeing what they're capable of, which is fine with me because I expect them to be kind of popular, and they're fairly easy to play against in my opinion, but we'll get into that more later. In any case, also managed to play Acquisition, which is one of the missions that I want to get more familiar with and test in for the Las Vegas Open in February. I believe my opponent JP was also testing for one of the larger regional events we have in the Southwest in the spring or the summer. I'm not real sure, but either way, we got both to play the mission that we wanted to, which is what's important. So let's jump into the game. So here we have the table. I like this table setup quite a bit. I think the buildings themselves go well with a lot of different like scatter and other sets and things like that, and they have a little more character to them than usual. The table also didn't have anything that really bothered me about it. There are a couple large buildings in the center, as you can see, but you can't get to them in your deployment zone, even with the long deployment zone for Acquisition, so you have to have like forward deployment or infiltration, something like that, the usual fare, which I'm okay with. If you have that kind of stuff and you can get into a good position, your model pays points for those abilities, you might as well get to use them, right? There's also not really any long lanes of fire. The longest one, which I'll illustrate as best I can, goes to about here, but there's some things to break it up. The pane of glass that I kind of went over a little bit. There's a couple little pieces of scatter that you can go prone in or behind, things like that. So it's not like one player is going to have a large advantage when it comes to picking any kind of lane of fire or anything like that. So JP won the lieutenant role and chose to go first in the mission. I chose to have him deploy first, of course, and then just grab one of the table sides because neither of them are particularly advantaged compared to the other. So we'll jump into JP's deployment here. I'm going to be cheating a little bit, looking at Infinity Army because I don't really remember all the names of the Yujing models. I don't speak Chinese or Mandarin or anything like that, so excuse me. But we have on the left-hand side the fire team core, mostly just made up of Zhanchi, one of them being a paramedic, which I believe was this one over here. And then we have a hideout sniper trying to own that lane of fire that I talked about a little bit at the beginning, and that's also more the business end of the fire team. To back her up, we also have a Yan Ho with 2 missile launchers, so adopting kind of a similar lane of fire, but that one is very locked down because walking into 2 missile launchers and a multi-sniper in a big team, not usually the best idea. So in the middle here, we have the Moang. That is also going to be JP's data tracker and has the Xenotech attached to him, as you can see. Originally, I believe the Moang and the Hulang, the monk guy, were going to be in a duo together, but when JP realized that the mission had a Xenotech in it, decided to split them up because obviously G-Sync and Fire Team has some negative interactions. So the Moang is going to be going at it alone in the center of the table. And then if we go over to here, we can see that there is a camo token just by the objective on my left-hand side, not touching it, but as pretty much as close as you can possibly be. And then we also have the Hulang over there, who is prone. There is also a camo token on top of, pretty much on top of this building. I didn't get a good shot of it, but you can just kind of see it at the top of the image there. That camo token is prone, so what that tells me, if we go back to this picture, is that this camo token is probably a Zensha, very good camo specialist for Imperial Army and for I think also Vanilla Yujing, just because of the position that he was in, trying to go and get the antenna really quickly, whereas the one on top of the building I figured would be a Daying, I don't know how to say that correctly, but the really good new lieutenant, the one that has lieutenant level 2, because that's very popular in my meta to have him as your lieutenant, either in Vanilla Yujing or in IA. So putting him into kind of a safe place, especially against Tohaa, where, if he's a hacker or something like that, also a pretty common profile. He's not going to be able to do any real hacking against me or anything. There's no REMs in the list, so his kind of goal is just to not die. At the time, I obviously didn't know what model was what, but that was the read that I got just based on what I do know about Imperial Army or Invincible Army. I'm sorry. And then so we go over to my deployment. I'm a little spread out, but not too much. I have a baggage Chaxa on the far left side over here. We have a Kael'tar that's just hanging out on his own, trying not to die. We have a prone camo token up here, which is going to be the Liberto, and then his mine for being a mine layer is right there. Another baggage Chaxa. Coattail pretending to be Lemuet so that he can get a Symbiont, and if you aren't familiar with playing against me, you would probably think that he's just Lemuet and I deployed him badly or something like that, but he's a Coattail. We have a Krakot up here who rolled up +1 armor and bioimmunity, which is the result that I pretty much never want, but can't always have the 6-4 movement. Down here we have a triad of the Gaurel, McCall, and Sukiel with their assembled Symbiont mates and all that good stuff. Moving on over, we have a Kael'tar, another McCall, and then a Kamale hiding in the corner here. That's my other triad. I chose to make the Kamale my data tracker this game because that's probably the model that I'm going to use the least as far as an action piece, and there's really no benefit to doing anything with the data tracker in this game other than having it alive at the end of the game. So I wanted something that is reasonably maneuverable, 4/4 in a triad, but also I'm not going to get him into a firefight early on and lose him or anything like that. Another baggage checks on my extreme right flank here, prone. And then we have the Rasail with his Symbiont mate, the Xenotech, and his baggage checks. The Xenotech is an orc model from 40k, for those of you who are familiar, because I'm still a little low on HVT models and stuff like that. But that's where everybody is. And then both of our HVTs actually went over here on the far right. JP, of course, placed his first, and I decided to place mine there as well after seeing that there wasn't much of his army on my right-hand side. It's just the Mo Wang who's in, the middle, can get to where he needs to go, but isn't. There's no big presence over there. So if I can deal with the Mo Wang or something like that, then it's pretty easy to pick up HVT secured since they're both right there. And I don't think JP's, small, not super mobile army is going to be in a hurry to hoof it all the way across the board. As far as my actual classified goes, I had, I think it was In Extremis Recovery. I do not know what JP's was off the top of my head. And then as far as reserve models go, I picked mine to be my Clipsos. It basically went in the same position as the camo token that I expected was a Zencha, so on the console on my far left. And then I don't remember what JP's reserve model was. Oh, I believe it was another camo token, if I'm looking at the list correctly. No, it was. He only has one. I think it actually was either the camo, one of the camo tokens. I don't remember. I'm sorry, but one of the camo tokens was his reserve model, so nothing crazy there. So we go into turn one. Obviously, no order pool reduction because the the Invincible Army is only on 10 models, one combat group. So right away, the camo token walks into base to base with the console on my left, reveals that it is in fact a Zencha, who's a forward observer, tries to activate the console, fails, gets another order, tries again, succeeds, and walks off a little bit, as you can see here. So pretty much just an expected action. I'm not going to reveal my Clipsos or anything like that on him just yet, because the Clipsos is more intended to take away the console later in the game and not necessarily defend it right off of the bat in this particular instance. So with that being done, the Moang gets a couple orders and just starts walking up the board with the Xenotech. Manages to hide behind the console on the right-hand side just because of his big size. I don't remember if I mentioned it before, but in my meta we play objectives as being silhouette 5 instead of, I think, 3 is what they're supposed to be in the rulebook. Not something I'm super wild about, but it predates me coming into the game, so that's just the way that it's done. The Xenotech manages to drop the beacon on the first try. That's what the unloaded token is for, so that part gets done. So a couple quick mission things done for JP's army. All right, and then we go into actual doing some shooting. So here I realized that I deployed my Krakot just a little bit badly. He just doesn't quite have the line of fire that he should. That's something that I have struggled with in the past, and it's actually much easier to do correctly when I paint the arcs on my models. So that's something I have scheduled to do for this week, because just kind of tired of getting caught out on stuff like that when I should be able to eyeball it and do better. But the Moang pokes out, pops him with the Spitfire, and the Krakow just disappears as expected. So probably would have lost the model anyways, just because even if he dodges or something like that, it's just one dice against the Spitfire and the good ballistic skill and all that kind of stuff of the Moang. But at least I would have had a chance. All right, so with that being cleared out a little bit, the Zensha keeps on moving and is pretty sure that the camo token 2 I have is actually a mine. So JP gives the Zensha an order, stays out of the range of the mine, going off, and then tries to discover it, which he does. So now he knows it's mine, but I guess at least I got an order out of it. And then the Zensha just keeps on moving towards the middle, as you can see in the picture. Moving over to another model, the Hugh Lang gets an order, stays prone, crawls to the crates and things like that you can see him touching in the photo, and then gets another order and stands up. I choose not to do anything with the Liberto because I'm going to be looking at it. I was pretty sure I was out of chain cult range, which also means that my shotgun is not as effective, and I don't really feel like just placing a mine as my arrow. That doesn't seem particularly good, so I just choose to stand there. The Hugh Lang tries to discover, also succeeds on the first try, which is a little bit of a bummer, and then the Hugh Lang gets another order, chooses to shoot me. I shoot back with the shotgun when I should have actually dodged. Again, Liberto is a newer model in my list, so I just kind of forgot in the moment that they have hyperdynamics too, dodging on 16s. So still not the greatest fight, but a decent chance to win. The Hugh Lang is more of a combat or a melee piece and not like the greatest shooter, especially with just a combi rifle. But the Hugh Lang does manage to win the face-to-face roll. The Liberto goes dogged. We run it back again, and then this time the Hugh Lang finishes the Liberto off. So the Liberto did die, but it has absorbed a lot of orders on JP's first turn through discovering and things like that. So for 10 points, I'm not super unhappy with that performance. And then to end the turn, JP uses a coordinated order to put the Hugh Lang, the Zensha, and I think the Moang, I think just those three, into suppressive fire. So obviously trying to keep me out of the middle a little bit. The Zensha also over here gets behind some scatter and stuff, so that it's pretty much going to have cover from any direction that I approach it at. So definitely the middle is pretty closed off unless I use some smoke, but it already was in a way because of the missile launcher and the multi-sniper overlooking it. So it's not like adding a couple extra models is changing the game state at all. It's still either I have to smoke or I'm just probably going to lose whatever goes out there. So we go over to my first turn. I'm not worried about the console, really either of the consoles yet. My goal more is to develop the pieces that I want to develop, and then get into a position to get as much done on the objectives as I can on turn 2 and 3. I have the advantage of going second, which in this mission is actually a gigantic deal because of how many points you get for like controlling as well as activating and things like that. So it's more about not focusing on the mission for right now, but focusing on preparing to focus on the mission, if that makes any sense. So I start the turn by doing a lot of line of fire checking and things like that on the Moang because this guy is pinning me down pretty bad. Obviously, I have a lot of fire coming in from this direction, which I could just, drop a smoke here and it's all good. But with the Moang, I'm kind of taking it from both sides. So there's no way I can just throw a smoke and walk out safely because then this guy is just going to be like... and we can't have that. And I accidentally hit my Windows key. So I have to get rid of him. So I'm checking his line of fire, seeing if it's better to throw the Sukiel at him, if I need to deliver the McCall to try to melee him down. Whatever's going on that's pretty much my primary objective for the turn. And then, as it turns out, I have a line of fire, which you can see here, where my Sukiel will be in cover the entire time because he's going to walk out of the smoke template, which I dropped on my first order. And I can see the Moang, and crucially, I can see him out of cover. So even though he is in suppressive fire, I have some mods of my own, and I have a K1 combi, so no cover, no armor is a very dangerous situation for the Moang to be in. So let's go back here. So I move out with another order, face to face with the Sukiel, managed to hit the Moang twice, hit him 3 times, I think. He takes 2 wounds, goes NWI, fails guts, which takes him out of suppressive fire, just to move around this objective just a little bit to actually gain some cover. In fact, he goes totally out of line of fire from me, but it's almost dead. So with 2 orders, I've managed to throw smoke and then managed to get most of my goal done. So we'll move over here. I give another order to the team. The Gaurel takes over as the leader because with 1 movement short skill, he's going to be able to see the Moang, whereas the Sukiel needs 2. So I'm going to try running the Spitfire into the Moang, even though he's going to have cover this time, which means he has a really good armor, just because there's a pretty good chance that I win the face-to-face and he just tanks the shots, so nothing bad's going to happen to me. But there's a chance that I could just kill it as well, and that's actually what happens. Because the Moang isn't in suppressive fire anymore, I have burst 5 for being in a triad and all that good stuff. I'm in good range, and I'm ignoring the mimetism because of MSV, so managed to kill the Moang by doing another, I think, 1 or 2 wounds. But either way, it's dead. So that gets rid of the data tracker, which is a big thing for the mission, and then also now kind of frees me up because I don't feel like the fire team or the what is the name of that model? The Yan Ho wants to move out to change their positioning. So now they're pretty much going to be static, and I can use the smoke to get around them, as I talked about earlier. All right, so going over to Combat Group 2, I didn't really have a lot to do with them right now. Like I said, I don't want to reveal the Calypsos just yet. Probably not until the next turn or the 3rd turn, maybe. And then and then the Krakat's dead, so I don't really have much business to do with Group 2 except for move the Rasail around, which is what we do. Looking at the table, there's not really going to be any fights she's going to be able to take because, like I said, everything's so locked down. So even if I smoke for her on the approach, she's going to walk out of the smoke eventually and then probably get shot by 2-3 models, maybe more, which is just a little bit more than I want to deal with right now. So instead, I make a bit of a play for this scenario and just Screamer up the right-hand flank with the Chaxa, with the Xenotech, dropping the beacon along the way, and just putting the Rasail in position to definitely get HVT secured at the end of the game if I need it, which I might, because there's not a lot of easy opportunities for an extremist recovery that I'm feeling right now. And then I also put the Rasail into suppressive fire. Again, I don't think anything's going to come challenge her, but it's just another deterrent. And this way, if I take out the missile launcher in the back, she can do a flanking maneuver. If I really need to deliver her to start killing some stuff, I can throw a couple smokes and she'll make it there. It just gives me some options versus JP's more static position. And then we do some reorganizing. Again, I don't have that much that I want to accomplish on this turn anymore. I don't really want to take any big risks or anything. I'm just interested in keeping my business pieces alive. So we just reorganize the triad a little bit, as you can see. And then I also decide to bring the coattail forward. It's obvious that it's not Lemieux at this point because it's my active turn, so I have to put the hollow projector, hollow echo markers down. So I just run him forward into that little gap that you can see, and then I try to have a speculative fire onto the Zensha with an EM grenade, just because I had the orders, but end up missing that, so nothing really done there. But I did get the coattail forward, which is nice because he's really fast and he's also a specialist, so I can get him to either of the consoles as I need to, and then he's just in a very safe state. Not sure why I took another picture of this again, but that's fine. Okay, so we'll go into Invincibles turn 2. So the first thing is an order goes to the Zensha, who shoots at the mine and kills it. There was actually a shot on it in the previous turn that I forgot to mention, where I just made the armor roll, so it didn't die, but JP gives it another order to the Zensha and shoots the mine, likely to clear the way for the Hulang, but at least I'm absorbing some orders with that, so that's what happens there. Okay, and then this I didn't get the best pictures of, so we'll kind of start from here. So the Hulang starts getting orders. There's nothing that's going to really be able to see him as it sweeps down around this way, which is what it wants to do. So it can see the Chaxa on my far left first as it moves down, and then it'll be able to see this one in the middle that I just drew a circle around. So that's exactly what happens. First order just moves. Second order gets in the line of fire of the Chaxa, shoots me with the combi. I ARO with the flamethrower. The Chaxa gets killed, but I managed to do a wound to the Hulang, so at least we got something done there. The Hulang keeps moving, gets into the same situation with the other Chaxa, although JP is careful to place it outside of heavy flamer range. So I just try to dodge and I think go prone, but lose the face-to-face roll. Chaxa ends up going unconscious. All right, so then it makes it over more towards the middle of my board. Originally probably finishing around here, so not in cover, but he is going to light flamethrower, all over the place. So what ends up happening is the McCall and the Gauril get caught unawares because they're all kind of facing forward. I wasn't super anticipating the flanking maneuver, and if it did come, which it did, I was kind of expecting to either kill or disable the Hulang. But on the approach, the spare Kael'tar that I have, the one that's painted that I showed in the deployment picture, again, just couldn't, oh no, the other Kael'tar, the one that's in a triad, just could not see the Hulang because, again, slightly mispositioned due to not having painted the arcs on. Totally my fault. But that would have netted me, I think, 3 tries with a burst 2 flash pulse on the approach to a model that's not in cover and things like that. So pretty likely that I would have gotten a flash pulse from there, but didn't work out because didn't place my models super correctly. So what does happen is I take both of my dodge rolls at a -3 for not being able to see the source of the template. Managed to pass both of them, shockingly, even though the Gauril doesn't have particularly good physique, the McCall does. So I just turned them both around. And then the Hulang moves to the position that you can see in the photo, flames the same 2 models again. I flame back with the McCall and shoot back with the Gauril. I was thinking about breaking the team and dodging with one, but I have a backup McCall in case that dies. The Gauril's not going to die because it has a Symbiont mate and all that kind of stuff, so he'll be fine. And then that's pretty much exactly what happens is the McCall dies from the fire, full dead. Not that I have a paramedic anyways, and the Gauril loses his Symbiont mate, but the Gauril manages to shoot the Hulang down and kill him, whereas he made the armor save for the heavy flamethrower. So did take some damage there, more than I should have, but that was pretty much JP's entire turn, and then I managed to kill the model in his turn, which is a pretty big deal. So not the best, but not the worst possible outcome either. Okay, so now we're on my turn 2, and then at this point I do want to play for the mission a little bit. I've killed JP's 2 frontline models. The Zensha is kind of an all-arounder, so things are a little bit more open, but I still want to do some damage and then try to go for the mission, like I said. So the first thing that happens is I give the Coattail an order. He still has his Symbiont mate, and then I super jump in the picture to a position where I can see the Zensha and not give it cover. This is going to mean that the Coattail is getting shot by the Zensha, the Haidao, and the missile launcher guy, which is fine because I still have the Symbiont mate. So even though it's a little scary that I'm taking 4 shots, there could be a crit in there somewhere, something like that. I think it's worth it for one try to throw an aim grenade at the Zensha with like surprise attack and all that kind of stuff. So they all shoot back. I win the face-to-face roll with the Zensha, which was nice. I think I was throwing on just +3 overall. Because I'm ignoring the cover, and the Zensha is shooting back at +- for range and surprise attack. But I win that one. BTS save gets failed, so the Zensha is now isolated and immobilized too. There's no engineer in the list, so it's effectively dead, which is all I cared about. And then the Symbiont mate gets destroyed in a horrible gore shower by the multi-sniper and the missile launcher, as expected. So going over here, at this point, I'm very free to kind of do what I want in the middle of the table. So this smoke is not actually here. It's just kind of left over from a previous turn. I didn't pick it up because there was models on it at the time. But I dropped this one, which is going to block off all of this stuff over here. And then my Sukiel, being a forward observer, walks over here, pushes the console. All good. So now I have 1 console and JP has 1 console, but the only specialist left in the list is the paramedic, and I suspect the lieutenant who is on top of this building. So that he's not going to be in position to really do much. He's going to run past my entire army to try to get that console and stuff. It's not going to happen. And the paramedic probably doesn't want to move out just yet because there's still another turn for me to have played, so I can kill him, or I can just take it back or whatever. So I feel pretty good about having the console on the right-hand side there. And then I also just kind of position my models a little defensively, so the Gaurel, as you can see, is kind of watching that corner. I'm not going to be able to be seen by anything without anything moving, but if stuff starts crossing and all that, then I'll be able to shoot it as it comes, which is important because I want to make sure that it's at least a little hard for the tech coffin to get controlled on JP's last turn. I also used some orders to bring up the triad here that had the McCall in it. So that was actually the first thing I did in the game. Sorry, I played this a few days ago, so it's coming back to me. I moved them forward so that I could cancel the fire team and put the McCall in with the Sukiel and the Gaurel so that they can, cross more easily with his smoke and take him with them and all that kind of stuff. So they're just forward, and then that also gets the Kamel into a little bit better of a position. Remember, he's my data tracker, so I can get him to the tech coffin on the last turn if I really need to score, a bunch of points. Other than that, a lot of, kind of just repositioning again, not really moving out with too much because I still feel good about the mission. I still have my classify locked up and HVT secured. That's very unlikely to go away. And then I'm controlling more of the table, and I have the advantage of going last still. And then, using Group 2's orders, I do reveal the Calypso at this point. This is another kind of a weird thing because, as you can see, the Calypso started life like here, which means that as the Hugh Lang was approaching my lines, she could definitely see it, an arrow. But because my laser is broken, normally I'm very aggressive with checking lines of fire, I thought that the hideout would be able to see me as I kind of cross here even while prone. But we discovered when I actually tried to do it that the hideout cannot see me if I stay prone. If I stood up, then she could. If I stay prone, then she's fine. So I could have revealed the Calypso and tried to lay a mine or fire off a combi rifle shot or something like that at the Hugh Lang, who would have probably been at -3 overall to shoot because probably good range for a combi, and then -6 for TO camo. So a little bit of a risky play. I don't think in hindsight that I should have taken it, which I obviously didn't, but it was on the table, whereas I didn't think it was. Anyways, Calypso gets an order, moves forward, fails to turn on the antenna, and then gets another order and turns it on. So now I have both of the consoles or antennas or whatever they are, and I also have someone controlling it on the left-hand side in the Calypso. So I'm just going to leave her there. Unfortunately, I didn't have the orders to re-camo her, which I wanted to do, but because she failed the first button press, I didn't have the orders in the pool to make that happen. All right, so we're going to go to JP's final turn now. Not having a lot of great active pieces left with the Zensha being immobilized and some other stuff being dead. The fire team just moves out. Everybody's moving forward. Has taken order to long skill climb with the hideout because there's no ladders or anything near him, so that slows him down. But ends up getting kind of into the defensive position that you can see here. Pretty much everybody has cover. They're looking at the tech coffin and all that kind of stuff. Just trying to make it a little harder for me to control at the end of the game or force smoke or what have you. So this is just another shot of how his kind of models are kind of lined up, how my models are lined up, all that good stuff, just so you can kind of get an area or an idea of where everything is. And then this is the tech coffin in the middle of the table. All right, so with the 2 lieutenant orders not being used on NCO anymore, the camo token does reveal that it is the lieutenant that I thought it was, and it has a go at my Kael'thar right here. So the Kael'thar is no longer in a triad, so it only gets to do 1 shot. I decided to flash pulse. The lieutenant is on 0 for range, so it's just on 0s overall, but I am at minus for cover because he's above me, and then I'm at plus for range, and then minus for camo, and minus for surprise attack. So I lose the face-to-face roll, and the Kael'thar dies. Sloppy positioning by me to have it even be out. They should have been, kind of like back here or something like that, where nothing can see them in JP's army pretty much no matter what he does. Using the second lieutenant order, runs it back, shoots the Kamel, who, again, because of poor positioning on my part, can't even see him to dodge or shoot back or do whatever, and goes unconscious. So that's my data tracker dead as well, unfortunately, which is going to deny me at least 1 point, and I could have easily prevented that, but just, again, like I said, some sloppy positioning. All right, so at this point, the game is effectively over. JP has no points. He didn't get his classified done. He's not in position for HVT secured. He doesn't have any of the consoles. He's not controlling anything. So it's just a matter of how much I can win by, so to speak. So with that in mind, the Triad gets in order, and I move the McCall back a little bit and then throw a smoke here. So this isn't going to block off the tech coffin, but I couldn't get over far enough without being seen to throw the smokes where I needed them to, and I don't want to get into a face-to-face roll with all of these guys when I'm trying to put the smoke down, so we're just going to take it kind of slow and safe. The McCall then breaks out of the Triad, and then I start doing some coordinated orders where I move so the start of the turn, I brought everybody into group 1, because I have a lot of guys dead, so it's all in one group, and then I do a coordinated order with the McCall, the Rasail, and I think one of the Chaksa. The Chaksa is moving up the right flank to take over the Rasail's position and make sure the HVT is right there so I can get that done. And then the Rasail is moving over to the left, bringing the Xenotech with him so I can get the Xenotech into base-to-base with the Tech Coffin to get the points for that. And then I just move the McCall into the smoke because he's going to try to spec fire onto the Tech Coffin. I can just run the Rasail out there because it has a lot of wounds and it still has its Symbiont and all that kind of stuff. But if I don't have to, I'd rather just take, again, the safest route. And that was actually the last picture I have for the game. So that's what happens. The McCall screws up the smoke grenade with a spec fire once, but then gets it on the second try. So the Tech Coffin's smoked up. The Rasail gets the remainder of the orders, just hoofs it up there, bringing the Xenotech with him. Xenotech goes into base to base, and then we end the game there. So I get a 9-0 victory for controlling the Tech Coffin and with my Xenotech, and then having activated both consoles and controlling both consoles. One is being controlled by the Calypsos and one is being controlled by the Gaurel. So all in all, things definitely went my way for the game. Wasn't a particularly bloody game, but a lot of positional stuff and things like that, some of which I screwed up, some of which I did a good job on. But overall, I was pretty happy that I was able to execute my plan as I hoped that it would go, kind of once I saw the table and how things would go on turn 1. So that's all I have for this one. As per usual, I'm going to do some more in-depth thoughts in another video, which will be the post-game for this one. So you can go ahead and check that out. But if that's not your thing, thanks a lot for watching. I'll probably have another video up this weekend. It's the 10th as of recording this, so go ahead and check that out if you like my content. And as always, really interested in feedback from you guys on what works, what doesn't work, what you like and don't like, so that I can continue to make these better and get some better production in there and all that kind of good stuff. But that's all I've got for this time. So thanks a lot for watching.